6. Chapter 1 deals with basic rhythms. So by the end of this chapter, you will have learned a few basic note values, you'll learn a few beat patterns, you'll learn a few conducting patterns, and you'll be able to take a look at a pretty simple piece of music and perform it accurately without ever having heard the piece before. So you're going to build your reading skills right away. It's actually really easy and hopefully pretty fun to get started with. So the first thing we're going to do is to talk about beats, which you can see as our first little subject here. So this is a term that I'm sure you've heard before, you might already be familiar with. A beat in music is a regular recurring pulsation. It's what you would clap along with, it's what you would tap your foot to, it's what you would dance to. So a beat in music, steady pulse. Sometimes if you're listening to a pretty slow song, the beats might happen at this rate of speed. So consistent but slow. Other times, if you're listening to an up-tempo song, then the beats might go by much more quickly. So something like this. Now, in most music that you're listening to, the beat indeed is consistent. So that's why we call it a regular recurring pulsation. Now, as you listen to music and as you dance to music, you'll notice, of course, that not all beats are equal. Instead, some beats feel like they have an additional amount of stress. Other beats might feel relatively weak. So luckily, these so-called beat patterns will fit largely into 3 categories, and these are listed below here in the bullet points. So the first main possibility, is to have strong beats followed by weak beats. So strong, weak, and so on. So in music, it might sound like this. Or strong, weak, and if you were to count numbers with that, you would do 1, 2, 1, 2, where the 1 is the strong and the 2 is the weak. So that's one possible beat pattern. The next one, you have a strong beat followed by 2 weak beats, strong followed by 2 weaks, and so on. So just repeating. So clapping it would sound like this. Or strong, weak, strong, weak. And if you were to count to it, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So again, 1 is the strong beat, and then 2 and 3 are the other weak beats. And then finally, this last one, strong, weak, medium, weak. Strong, weak, medium, weak. So it might sound like this. Strong, weak, medium, weak. Strong, weak, medium, weak. And if you were to put numbers to that, you guessed it, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So counting to 4, where the 1 is the strong, 2 and 4 are the weak, and then the 3 is kind of that medium stressed beat. So I guarantee you that 99% of the music that you listen to or perform is going to fit into one of these 3 categories. And in fact, if you really listen carefully, I bet over 90% of the music that you regularly listen to falls into either the first category or the third category. They're very, very common. So knowing these 3 beat patterns is really going to help you deal with so much music. Now, how does this translate into performance and reading music? Well, the next thing that we're going to learn is a set of conducting patterns. And these conducting patterns, these are just little gestures that you're going to make with your right hand. And they reflect the stresses of the beats that we were just talking about. So let's go down to this little diagram here where we see conducting patterns. So we said that first beat pattern, strong, weak, 1, 2, 1, 2, we're going to learn a little gesture for it. And what we're going to do is for every 1, the strongest beat of the pattern, we're going to go down. We're going to use or align ourselves with the force of gravity. So 1 will be down, and then, as you can see in this diagram and in the summary, 2 will be up. And there's a little nuance. You can look at the diagram and look at the summary for specific guidance, but let me demonstrate it to you because that's the easiest way to pick it up. Now, for all of these, just a quick caveat, you are seeing me on a camera, so what you see is kind of reversed from what you're doing. So just know that what I'm doing is correct from my perspective, and then yours will be from your perspective. So here it goes. Here's the 2 pattern. So 1, 2. Let me see if I can get in the camera better. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So in slow motion, I'm going down and a little bit out relative to my body, and then For 2, I'm going in a little bit and mostly going up. So 1, 2, 1, 2. And you can do this with your hand in any orientation. You could even have a pencil or something. So that's your 2 pattern. Let's go on to the 3 pattern. So with the 3 pattern, this aligns with that strong, weak, weak beat pattern. So again, 1 is going to be down for reasons of gravity. 2 is going to be out or to your right. And 3 is going to be in a little bit and up. So really just think down, right, up, down, right, up, down, right, or even down, out, up, down, out, up. That way you have a nice emphasis on 1, and then 2 and 3 are the other weak beats in the pattern. Now for the last one, the 4 pattern, granted these diagrams, they look a little bit ornate. Really go after these summaries here, strong, weak, down and out, then in and up, or down, right, up. That will really be the easiest way to learn these quickly. So with the 4, I realize the diagram looks a little bit ornate. It's really not that bad. So what you're going to do in slow motion will be, at least from my perspective, down, left, right, up, or you can think down, in, out, up, down, in, out, up, down, in, out, up. So you'll get used to that. You'll want to practice these a bunch. So the 2 pattern again, 1, 2, 1, 2. The 3 pattern, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the 4 pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's totally fine if you want to get fancy, like these diagrams suggest, where you're doing all sorts of like little curly cues and stuff, but I'd rather you just get the basics down. That's the most important thing. So pretty easy so far. Now let's go on to the next page. As we're getting there, you'll see this little note. Try to get to a point where you know these really cold and you don't have to use much space. That's the best way to prepare yourself for reading music and reading rhythm in particular. So at the top of page 7, I'm just going to explain this exercise to you. It should be pretty fun. This just tests your ability to do these different patterns. So in the first one, you're going to conduct this sequence of conducting patterns. So what you see, of course, is 4 2 patterns, then 4 3 patterns, then 4 4 patterns. So you just do it like this: 1 2 1 2 1 2 1, and then you switch 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1, and then you switch one more time: 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So I recommend that you work through all of these in sequence. I'll demo the last one because they get more difficult as you go on. You have to switch gears more frequently towards the end. So in letter E, I'll just demonstrate this one real quick. A 2 pattern followed by a 4 pattern followed by a 3. So the idea here is keep that pulse steady. In other words, don't just take a break between the 2 pattern and the 4 pattern. See if you can maintain a continuity of beats. So for letter E, it'll look something like this, and I'll try to stay in camera here. So it'll go like this: 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So if you can master that letter E, that means you're in pretty good shape. So for the next section, I'm going to jump over to the iPad video tutorial. So I'll go over bar lines, measures, time signatures, etc. in the next video. So in the meantime, keep practicing those conducting patterns that are going to come in handy basically for the rest of your musical life.